It was a simple idea in 1947, and it's a simple idea now. Jewish children in need. Back then it was the children who survived the Holocaust. But more than that, Jewish Child's Day taught British children that being Jewish meant caring for others, giving to charity, tikkun olam, a responsibility they would carry into adult life. The first Sunday of every Hanukkah, Jewish children across the UK donated their own money, Hanukkah geld, not chocolate money, real money, their money. Jewish Child's Day became the most important fundraising day on the Jewish communal calendar. Our archives display events from collecting stickers to celebrities galore that inspired generations of young donors to help Jewish children wherever there was a need. But for me, one letter stood out. So far, we have never had to say no to children who need us. The Jewish community had realised that no one else was going to help Jewish children. And we all grew up. Our parents and our generation, you and I, we were those children. Now it's our turn, our responsibility. Today we work 365 days a year, not just on the first Sunday of Hanukkah, but every day that God gives us. We started by supporting 2 countries, which turned into 4, 5, and now over 20 countries across the world. We'd helped 4 projects in 1949, 60 in 1959, and now a total of 352 projects have benefited to date. The thousands of pounds turned into hundreds of thousands, and now millions of pounds. You know, since 1947, you've donated over £10 million, which means that over 500,000 children have the vital support they would have gone without. We've even put our accounts online so everyone can see where the money goes. Today we are embracing new technologies, producing videos, building websites. We're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, raising the profile of Jewish Child's Day in and beyond the Jewish community. We speak at shuls, schools, all kinds of events. All this with a team no bigger than 6 people, all driven by a passion and responsibility to help Jewish children. Children like our own, children like my own. Yep, this is my daughter. So what's next?
Jewish Child's Day is going to remind children that giving to charity is at the heart of what it means to be a Jew living in Britain today.
This Hanukkah, Jewish Child's Day is going to kickstart a new generation of donors. So we'll keep asking you and our kids to keep supporting Jewish Child's Day every day. You can run a marathon, cycle, walk, swim, cut your hair, climb mountains, jump out of planes, or leave a legacy, preferably before you jump out of that plane. Come up with your own ideas. It's our responsibility and an example we set. Because today in the UK, in Israel and around the world, there are Jewish children physically and mentally handicapped. Jewish children hungry today in Israel. Children living in abject poverty. Right now, going to bed on empty stomachs, going to school with no lunch, and only eating food that leads to diabetes, poor eyesight, so hungry they fail at school, so they fail to reach their potential.
The older child has nothing to eat. I don't talk about myself. Look at what I have. Leftover macaroni that no one will eat, and cabbage. Is that food for a child? I'd like to have money to eat properly. Chama volunteers try to help the children, especially the children. When we see children in the street or children who are hungry, we invite them in and feed them. We reached the place where they were giving out food. They gave us food and we went home to eat. All I ask is that my mother, my sister and myself have enough to eat.
Jewish Child's Day is no longer just a charity, no longer just children raising money. We became one of the most vital resources for all Jewish children in need. Today, we provide a lifeline to charities that aren't sufficiently able to fundraise themselves. It means they can concentrate on frontline services. To better understand why we do what we do, we're going to take 3 minutes to show you 3 of the extraordinary charities that we help. They are not the major mainstream charities that you might normally be aware of. That is why they rely on us.
Cystic fibrosis is the most common life-threatening disease. It affects the lungs with almost permanent severe infection. It requires hours of therapy to remove excess mucus, but often leads to damaged lungs, diabetes, liver disease, and frequent hospitalization. After a difficult labour, Moselle's first baby, Yossi, was born, but with cystic fibrosis. We were doing well, but then we were told our second child, Hedva, had cystic fibrosis. We prayed for a healthy third child, but no. We raised all 3 with cystic fibrosis. They became weaker and weaker, and one by one, they died in our arms. We now devote our lives to children with cystic fibrosis, helped by Jewish Child's Day. Shachar was born 20 years ago with special needs, requiring professional care. Her family could not afford the support that was required.
יופי.
But at Akim, her self-confidence flourished when she took up horse riding and then training to swim. At 19, Shachar was able to live away from her home with a lifelong carer. Jewish Child's Day has helped her get to this point.
I want to be a champion and tell my parents I succeeded. I want them to be proud of me.
Shachar travelled to the Special Olympics to represent Israel. For 50 metres, she was in 3rd place. Suddenly, she burst forwards to beat her personal best and to win the gold medal for Israel. Shachar will now help others like her to succeed in life, to be proud and to win. The children's ward at Rayut treats children with terminal medical conditions. It's the only place in Israel that receives such complex cases. Children stay and grow here until they die. It's very hard because you know the end is soon. The children and parents in this special ward receive dignity, sympathy and care that is not available elsewhere in Israel. The staff are specially trained and the technology is very expensive. It's been 9 years since Eli hit his head in a swimming pool accident. I can touch him, talk to him. How am I going to let him go? Thank you, Rayut and Jewish Child's Day. You make it a little easier.
The needs of these children, these charities, are desperate. Jewish Child's Day helps over 12,000 Jewish and non-Jewish children who are not helped by the major mainstream charities. We fill the gaps. If a little girl came knocking on your door and said she was really hungry, you'd give her something to eat, wouldn't you? We're British Jews. We give food to people who aren't hungry. And all we're doing today is knocking on your door, and on behalf of 12,000 children, we're asking for your help. Just like those children who were helped after the Holocaust, please help us to never say no to a child in need. And maybe, just maybe, my children and your children will better understand what it means to be a Jew who gives in Britain today. If we don't help our own, who will?
чтобы моей маме и мне и сестренке было кушать.